Exploring the mysteries of Greek mythology. Acronis, also spelled Kronos, was a prominent figure in Greek mythology, known for being the leader of the Titans and the father of the Olympian gods. Here is a more detailed explanation of Kronos. Titan leader. Kronos was the youngest of the first generation of Titans, the powerful beings who ruled the cosmos before the Olympian gods. He was the leader of the Titans, a position he gained by overthrowing his own father, Uranus, the sky god, with the help of his mother, Gaia, the earth goddess. Ruler of the Golden Age. After overthrowing Uranus, Kronos became the ruler of the cosmos during a period known as the Golden Age. This was a time of peace, prosperity, and harmony, often described as a time when humans lived like gods. The prophecy. Kronos was warned by his parents that he would be overthrown by one of his own children, just as he had overthrown his father. To prevent this, he swallowed each of his children as soon as they were born. Zeus's birth and defeat. Despite Kronos' efforts, his wife Rhea managed to save their youngest child, Zeus, by hiding him and tricking Kronos into swallowing a stone wrapped in cloth instead. Zeus eventually grew up and, with the help of his mother and other allies, defeated Kronos, forcing him to regurgitate his siblings. Imprisonment in Tartarus. After being defeated by Zeus, Kronos and the other Titans who had supported him were imprisoned in Tartarus, the deepest part of the underworld, by the victorious Olympian gods. Symbolism and legacy. Kronos is often seen as a symbol of time, as his name is etymologically related to the word chronos, which means time in Greek. He is also a symbol of the cyclical nature of the cosmos, as his overthrow by Zeus represents the passing of power from one generation to the next. Kronos' story is one of the many myths that explain the origins of the Greek gods and the natural world, as well as the concepts of power, time, and fate in Greek mythology. Zeus, known as the king of the gods, was a central figure in Greek mythology. Here is a detailed explanation of Zeus. Ruler of Mount Olympus. Zeus was the ruler of Mount Olympus, the highest mountain in Greece and the mythical home of the gods. As the king of the gods, Zeus presided over the affairs of both gods and mortals from his throne on Olympus. God of the sky and thunder. Zeus was the god of the sky, lightning, and thunder. He was often depicted wielding a thunderbolt, which was his symbol of power. Zeus controlled the weather, and his thunderbolts were said to be a weapon he used to maintain order and punish those who defied him. Protector of order and justice. Zeus was also seen as a protector of order and justice. He was responsible for maintaining the natural order of the world and ensuring that justice was upheld. Zeus was often called upon to settle disputes among the gods and mortals. Father of gods and men. Zeus was believed to be the father of many gods, goddesses, and heroes in Greek mythology. He fathered these children with various goddesses, nymphs, and mortal women. Some of his most famous children include Athena, Apollo, Artemis, Hermes, Persephone, and Hercules. Role in the Titanomachy. Zeus played a crucial role in the Titanomachy, the war between the Olympian gods and the Titans. With the help of his siblings and other allies, Zeus managed to defeat the Titans and establish the reign of the Olympian gods. Cultural significance. Zeus was one of the most important deities in ancient Greek religion and mythology. He was worshipped widely throughout the Greek world and was often invoked in prayers and rituals. Many temples and festivals were dedicated to Zeus, including the Olympic Games, which were held in his honor. Symbol of power and authority. Zeus was seen as a symbol of power, authority, and leadership. He was often portrayed as a wise and just ruler, but he could also be unpredictable and wrathful, especially towards those who challenged his authority. Overall, Zeus was a complex and powerful deity who played a central role in Greek mythology and religion. He was revered as the king of the gods and the supreme ruler of the universe, embodying the ideals of power, order, and justice. Hera, the queen of the gods and the wife of Zeus, was a significant figure in Greek mythology. Here is a detailed explanation of Hera. Queen of the gods. Hera was known as the queen of the gods, ruling alongside her husband Zeus, the king of the gods. She was considered the supreme goddess of marriage, women, childbirth, and family. Goddess of marriage and fertility. Hera was primarily worshipped as the goddess of marriage and fertility. She presided over weddings and was believed to protect married women. She was also associated with the fertility of the earth and the growth of crops. Jealousy and vengeance. Hera was often portrayed as a jealous and vengeful goddess, particularly in relation to Zeus's infidelities. She was known for her fierce anger towards Zeus's lovers and their illegitimate children, whom she often sought to punish. Mythological stories. Hera appears in many mythological stories, often in conflict with Zeus or other gods. One famous story involves her role in the birth of Hercules, Zeus's son by a mortal woman. Hera attempted to thwart Hercules at every turn, sending various challenges and obstacles in his path. Symbolism and representations. Hera was often depicted as a majestic and severe figure, wearing a crown and holding a royal scepter. She was sometimes shown with a peacock, which was her sacred animal and a symbol of her beauty and immortality. Cult worship. Hera was worshipped throughout ancient Greece, but her cult was particularly prominent in the city of Argos. She had several temples dedicated to her, including the Heraion at Olympia, which was one of the largest and most important temples in the region. Symbol of matrimony and family. Hera was seen as a symbol of matrimony and family life, embodying the ideals of marriage, fidelity, and motherhood. Despite her vengeful nature, she was also believed to protect and care for women in their roles as wives and mothers. In Greek mythology, Hera was a complex and powerful goddess, revered for her role as the queen of the gods and her association with marriage and family. Her stories serve as important reminders of the complexities of human relationships and the challenges of balancing power and emotion. Poseidon, the god of the sea, was a powerful figure in Greek mythology, with a complex personality and role. Here is a detailed explanation of Poseidon, god of the sea. Poseidon was primarily known as the god of the sea, responsible for all aspects of the ocean and its creatures. He was also associated with earthquakes, as his movements beneath the sea were believed to cause the earth to shake. Symbolism and depictions. Poseidon was often depicted as a powerful and bearded man, carrying a trident, which was his signature weapon. The trident symbolized his control over the sea, and he was often shown riding a chariot pulled by sea creatures. Temperamental nature. Poseidon was known for his temperamental nature, which mirrored the unpredictable and often violent nature of the sea. He could be both benevolent and destructive, granting safe passage to sailors or unleashing storms and earthquakes as punishment. Association with horses. Poseidon was also closely associated with horses, often depicted riding a chariot pulled by horses or creating horses from the sea foam. He was believed to be the creator of the first horse, a symbol of his power over the land as well as the sea. Role in mythology. Poseidon appears in many mythological stories, often in conflict with other gods or mortals. One of his most famous disputes was with the goddess Athena over the patronage of Athens. Poseidon struck the ground with his trident, creating a spring, but Athena's gift of an olive tree was deemed more valuable by the city's inhabitants. Cult worship. Poseidon was worshipped throughout ancient Greece, particularly in coastal regions where the sea was a vital part of daily life. He had several temples dedicated to him, including the Temple of Poseidon at Cape Sunion, which overlooks the Aegean Sea. Symbol of power and chaos. Poseidon was seen as a symbol of power and chaos, embodying the untamed forces of nature. His stories served as cautionary tales about the dangers of hubris and the importance of respecting the power of the sea. Overall, Poseidon was a complex and powerful deity in Greek mythology, revered for his control over the sea and his role in shaping the natural world. His stories reflect the ancient Greeks' deep respect for the sea and their understanding of its power and unpredictability. Athena, the goddess of wisdom, war, and crafts, was one of the most revered deities in Greek mythology. Here is a detailed explanation of Athena, goddess of wisdom. Athena was primarily known as the goddess of wisdom, representing intelligence, strategy, and knowledge. She was revered for her keen intellect and strategic prowess, often depicted as a wise counselor and advisor. Strategic warfare. Athena was also a goddess of war, but she represented a different aspect of warfare than Ares, the god of war. Athena embodied strategic warfare, emphasizing skill, discipline, and planning over brute force and aggression. Patron of crafts and arts. Athena was the patron goddess of crafts and arts, particularly weaving and pottery. She was believed to have invented the plow and the trumpet, and she was also associated with architecture and shipbuilding. Symbolism and depictions. Athena was often depicted wearing armor and a helmet, carrying a shield and a spear. She was also sometimes shown with an owl, which was her sacred animal and a symbol of wisdom. Birth and origins. According to myth, Athena was born fully grown and armored from the forehead of her father Zeus, after he swallowed her pregnant mother, Metis. This myth symbolizes Athena's association with wisdom and her birth from the mind of Zeus. Role in mythology. Athena appears in many mythological stories, often as a wise and powerful ally of heroes such as Odysseus and Perseus. She is also known for her role in the founding of Athens, where she competed with Poseidon for patronage of the city, and offered the olive tree as a gift, which was deemed more valuable than Poseidon's gift of a spring. Cult worship. Athena was worshipped throughout ancient Greece, but her cult was particularly prominent in Athens, where she was the city's patron deity. The Parthenon, a temple dedicated to Athena, was built on the Acropolis in Athens and was the center of her worship, symbol of strength and wisdom. Athena was seen as a symbol of strength, wisdom, and civilization, embodying the ideals of intelligence, courage, and justice. She was revered for her role in shaping the culture and values of ancient Greece. Overall, Athena was a complex and multifaceted deity in Greek mythology, revered for her wisdom, strength, and strategic prowess. Her stories serve as a reminder of the importance of intelligence and wisdom in the face of conflict and adversity. Hephaestus, the god of fire, metalworking, and craftsmanship, played a crucial role in Greek mythology. Here is a detailed explanation of Hephaestus, god of fire and forge. Hephaestus was primarily known as the god of fire and the forge, representing the transformative power of fire in metalworking and craftsmanship. He was believed to be the creator of the divine weapons and armor of the gods. Master craftsman. Hephaestus was revered as a master craftsman, known for his skill in metalworking and sculpture. He was said to have crafted intricate and beautiful objects, including the armor of Achilles and the scepter of Zeus. Physical attributes. Hephaestus was often depicted as a bearded man with a sturdy build, reflecting his role as a skilled worker. He was sometimes shown with a hammer, anvil, and other tools of the forge. Association with technology. Hephaestus was also associated with technology and innovation, representing the creative use of fire and metal in the advancement of civilization. He was believed to have taught humans the art of metalworking and other crafts. Mythological stories. Hephaestus appears in many mythological stories, often in a supporting role. One of the most famous stories involving Hephaestus is his marriage to Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty. Despite his physical deformities, Hephaestus was able to win Aphrodite's affection through his kindness and craftsmanship. Symbolism and representations. Hephaestus was seen as a symbol of creativity, skill, and perseverance. His stories often emphasize the importance of hard work and ingenuity in achieving success. Cult worship. Hephaestus was worshipped throughout ancient Greece, particularly by blacksmiths, artisans, and craftsmen. He had several temples dedicated to him, including the Temple of Hephaestus in Athens, which still stands today as one of the best preserved temples in Greece. Symbol of transformation. Hephaestus was seen as a symbol of transformation, representing the ability to turn raw materials into objects of beauty and utility. His stories serve as a reminder of the transformative power of creativity and craftsmanship. Overall, Hephaestus was a complex and important deity in Greek mythology, revered for his skill as a craftsman and his role in the advancement of civilization. His stories highlight the importance of creativity, perseverance, and innovation in human achievement. Aphrodite, the goddess of love, beauty, and desire, was one of the most prominent deities in Greek mythology. Here is a detailed explanation of Aphrodite, goddess of love and beauty. Aphrodite was primarily known as the goddess of love and beauty, representing the ideal of physical and romantic love. She was revered for her beauty and allure, and she was believed to inspire love and desire in gods and mortals alike. Birth and origins. According to myth, Aphrodite was born from the sea foam that formed around the severed genitals of Uranus, the sky god, when they were thrown into the sea by his son Cronus. This myth symbolizes Aphrodite's connection to the sea and her role as a goddess of love and desire. Symbols and depictions. Aphrodite was often depicted as a beautiful woman, sometimes accompanied by Eros, the god of love. She was associated with roses, doves, and myrtle, which were her sacred plants and animals. Relationships and consorts. Aphrodite was married to Hephaestus, the god of fire and craftsmanship, but she was also known for her many affairs with both gods and mortals. Some of her most famous lovers included Ares, the god of war, and Adonis, a mortal youth. Cult worship. Aphrodite was worshipped throughout ancient Greece, particularly in the city of Cyprus, where she was believed to have been born from the sea. She had several temples dedicated to her, including the famous Temple of Aphrodite at Paphos. Role in mythology. Aphrodite appears in many mythological stories, often as a central figure in tales of love, desire, and jealousy. Her stories serve as cautionary tales about the power of love and desire to influence human behavior. Symbol of love and passion. Aphrodite was seen as a symbol of love, passion, and fertility, embodying the ideals of beauty and desire. Her stories and worship were often associated with rituals and practices related to love and fertility. Overall, Aphrodite was a complex and influential deity in Greek mythology, revered for her beauty and her role in inspiring love and desire. Her stories serve as reminders of the power of love to shape human emotions and relationships. Ares, the god of war, was a powerful and often feared deity in Greek mythology. Here is a detailed explanation of Ares, god of war. Ares was primarily known as the god of war, representing the violent and destructive aspects of battle. Unlike Athena, who embodied strategic warfare, Ares was associated with the brutal and chaotic aspects of combat. Symbols and depictions. Ares was often depicted as a fierce and bearded warrior, wearing armor and carrying a shield and spear. He was sometimes accompanied by his sons, Deimos, terror, and Phobos, fear, who personified the horrors of war. Personality and attributes. Ares was known for his aggressive and impulsive nature, often acting without considering the consequences of his actions. He was often portrayed as a hot-tempered and reckless god, more interested in the thrill of battle than in the outcome. Role in mythology. Ares appears in many mythological stories, often as a disruptive and destructive force. He was involved in many conflicts among the gods and was often at odds with other deities, particularly Athena, who represented the more strategic and disciplined aspects of warfare. Cult worship. Ares was not as widely worshipped as some other gods, as his violent nature made him less appealing to many people. However, he was still revered by warriors seeking victory in battle, and he had a few temples dedicated to him, including one on the Areopagus Hill in Athens. Symbolism and representations. Ares was seen as a symbol of the brutal and chaotic nature of war, embodying the destructive power of conflict. His stories served as cautionary tales about the dangers of unchecked aggression and the need for discipline and restraint in warfare. Legacy and influence. Despite his reputation, Ares was still an important deity in Greek mythology, representing an essential aspect of human nature. His stories and worship were a reminder of the destructive potential of war and the need for wisdom and restraint in its conduct. Overall, Ares was a complex and powerful deity in Greek mythology, revered for his role as the god of war, but also feared for his violent and impulsive nature. His stories serve as a reminder of the destructive power of war and the importance of tempering aggression with wisdom and restraint. Apollo, the god of music, arts, knowledge, healing, plague, prophecy, poetry, manly beauty, and archery, was one of the most versatile and widely revered deities in Greek mythology. Here is a detailed explanation of Apollo, god of music and arts. Apollo was primarily known as the god of music and the arts, representing the ideal of artistic and intellectual pursuits. He was believed to inspire musicians, poets, and artists, and he was often depicted playing a golden lyre, god of knowledge and healing. Apollo was also associated with knowledge and healing, serving as a patron of medicine and healing arts. He was believed to have the power to cure diseases and protect against plagues. Symbols and depictions. Apollo was often depicted as a handsome and youthful god, with long flowing hair and a serene expression. He was sometimes shown with a laurel wreath, which was his sacred plant, symbolizing victory and achievement. Oracle at Delphi. One of Apollo's most famous roles was as the god of prophecy. He was believed to speak through the oracle at Delphi, a priestess who would deliver his prophecies to those seeking advice or guidance. Association with the sun. Although not originally a sun god, Apollo later became associated with the sun and was sometimes referred to as Phoebus Apollo, meaning bright or shining. This association linked him to light, truth, and enlightenment. Role in mythology. Apollo appears in many mythological stories, often as a central figure in tales of love, prophecy, and adventure. He is also known for his conflicts with other gods and mortals, including his rivalry with the god Hermes and his pursuit of the nymph Daphne. Cult worship. Apollo was worshipped throughout ancient Greece, particularly in the city of Delphi, where his oracle was located. He had several temples dedicated to him, including the famous Temple of Apollo at Delphi, symbol of harmony and balance. Apollo was seen as a symbol of harmony and balance, embodying the ideal of a well-rounded individual who excels in both intellectual and physical pursuits. His stories and worship were often associated with the pursuit of excellence and the importance of balance in life. Overall, Apollo was a complex and multifaceted deity in Greek mythology, revered for his role in inspiring creativity, knowledge, and healing. His stories serve as a reminder of the importance of balance and harmony in all aspects of life. Artemis, the goddess of the hunt, wilderness, wild animals, childbirth, and virginity, was a complex and revered deity in Greek mythology. Here is a detailed explanation of Artemis, goddess of the hunt. Artemis was primarily known as the goddess of the hunt, representing the ideal of the skilled and independent hunter. She was believed to roam the wilderness with her bow and arrows, hunting wild animals. Protector of wildlife. Artemis was also a protector of wildlife and the natural world. She was revered for her role in maintaining the balance of nature and ensuring the health and prosperity of the wilderness. Goddess of childbirth. Artemis was also associated with childbirth, particularly in her role as a protector of women and young children. She was believed to assist women in childbirth and protect them during pregnancy. Virgin goddess. Artemis was one of the virgin goddesses of Olympus, along with Athena and Hestia. She swore to remain a virgin and dedicated herself to hunting and wilderness pursuits, rejecting the advances of gods and mortals alike. Symbols and depictions. Artemis was often depicted as a young woman carrying a bow and arrows, accompanied by a stag or other wild animals. She was sometimes shown wearing a short tunic and hunting boots, reflecting her role as a huntress. Role in mythology. Artemis appears in many mythological stories, often as a fierce and independent figure. She is also known for her close relationship with her twin brother, Apollo, with whom she shared many attributes and responsibilities. Cult worship. Artemis was worshipped throughout ancient Greece, particularly in the region of Attica, where she was believed to have been born. She had several temples dedicated to her, including the Temple of Artemis at Ephesus, which was one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Symbol of independence and strength. Artemis was seen as a symbol of independence and strength, embodying the ideals of the skilled hunter and protector of wildlife. Her stories and worship were often associated with the empowerment of women and the importance of the natural world. Overall, Artemis was a complex and powerful deity in Greek mythology, revered for her role as a huntress, protector, and symbol of female strength and independence. Her stories serve as a reminder of the importance of respecting and protecting the natural world. Dionysus, the god of wine. Winemaking, grape cultivation, fertility, ritual madness, theater, and religious ecstasy, was a complex and influential deity in Greek mythology. Here is a detailed explanation of Dionysus, god of wine and fertility. Dionysus was primarily known as the god of wine, representing the transformative and intoxicating power of the drink. He was also associated with fertility, as wine was believed to have the power to bring forth life and abundance. Symbols and depictions. Dionysus was often depicted as a young, bearded man holding a drinking cup, surrounded by grapevines and accompanied by a retinue of satyrs, nymphs, and other revelers. He was sometimes shown riding a chariot pulled by wild animals. Ritual madness and ecstasy. Dionysus was also associated with ritual madness and ecstasy, believed to be induced by the consumption of wine. His worship often involved wild and uninhibited celebrations, including dancing, music, and revelry. God of theater. Dionysus was the patron god of theater, particularly the dramatic arts. He was believed to inspire creativity and artistic expression, and his festivals often included theatrical performances and competitions. Mythological stories. Dionysus appears in many mythological stories, often as a figure of divine transformation and liberation. One famous story involves his journey to the underworld to rescue his mother Semele and bring her to Olympus as a goddess. Cult worship. Dionysus was worshipped throughout ancient Greece, particularly in the form of mystery cults that emphasized the ecstatic and transformative aspects of his worship. His festivals, known as the Dionysia, were celebrated with great enthusiasm and were a time of social and cultural renewal, symbol of rebirth and renewal. Dionysus was seen as a symbol of rebirth and renewal, embodying the cyclical nature of life and the transformative power of wine and ecstasy. His stories and worship were often associated with the idea of liberation from societal norms and constraints. Overall, Dionysus was a complex and influential deity in Greek mythology, revered for his role as the god of wine, theater, and ecstasy. His stories and worship served as a reminder of the transformative and liberating power of the natural world and the human spirit. Hermes, the messenger of the gods, was a multifaceted deity in Greek mythology, associated with a wide range of domains and attributes. Here is a detailed explanation of Hermes, messenger of the gods. Hermes was primarily known as the messenger of the gods, responsible for delivering messages between the gods and between the gods and mortals. He was known for his speed and agility, often depicted with winged sandals and a winged helmet. God of travelers and commerce. Hermes was also the god of travelers, merchants, and commerce, representing the idea of safe and swift travel. He was believed to protect travelers on their journeys and guide merchants in their business dealings. God of thieves and trickery. Hermes was also associated with thieves and trickery, representing the cunning and deceptive aspects of human nature. Despite this, he was also seen as a protector of travelers and a bringer of luck and prosperity. Symbols and depictions. Hermes was often depicted as a young, athletic man, dressed in a traveler's cloak and carrying a herald's staff or caduceus, a symbol of his role as a messenger. He was sometimes shown with a purse or bag, symbolizing his association with commerce and trade. Role in mythology. Hermes appears in many mythological stories, often as a clever and mischievous figure. He is known for his role in the theft of Apollo's cattle, as well as his interactions with other gods and mortals. Cult worship. Hermes was worshipped throughout ancient Greece, particularly in the form of the Hermae, which were stone pillars topped with a bust of Hermes. These pillars were believed to protect travelers and mark boundaries, symbol of communication and connection. Hermes was seen as a symbol of communication and connection, embodying the idea of bringing messages and bridging gaps between different realms. His stories and worship were often associated with the idea of communication and exchange. Overall, Hermes was a complex and versatile deity in Greek mythology, revered for his role as the messenger of the gods and the protector of travelers and merchants. His stories and worship served as a reminder of the importance of communication, travel, and commerce in the ancient world. Demeter, the goddess of agriculture, fertility, and the harvest, was a central figure in Greek mythology, associated with the cycles of nature and the cultivation of crops. Here is a detailed explanation of Demeter, goddess of agriculture. Demeter was primarily known as the goddess of agriculture, responsible for the growth and harvest of crops. She was believed to preside over the fertility of the earth and the cultivation of grain. Symbols and depictions. Demeter was often depicted as a mature woman, dressed in a long robe and carrying a sheaf of wheat or a torch. She was sometimes shown with her daughter Persephone, symbolizing the cycle of the seasons. Motherly figure. Demeter was also revered as a motherly figure, particularly in her role as the mother of Persephone. She was believed to protect mothers and children and to nurture the earth like a loving mother. Mythological stories. Demeter appears in many mythological stories, often as a figure of grief and loss. One of the most famous stories involving Demeter is the tale of her daughter Persephone's abduction by Hades, the god of the underworld, which explains the changing of the seasons. Cult worship. Demeter was worshipped throughout ancient Greece, particularly in the form of the Eleusinian Mysteries, a secret religious cult that honored Demeter and Persephone. The mysteries were believed to offer initiates the hope of a blessed afterlife, symbol of renewal and fertility. Demeter was seen as a symbol of renewal and fertility, embodying the cyclical nature of the seasons and the earth's ability to bring forth life. Her stories and worship were often associated with the idea of rebirth and regeneration, legacy and influence. Demeter was a beloved deity in Greek mythology, revered for her role in ensuring the fertility of the earth and the success of the harvest. Her stories and worship served as a reminder of the importance of agriculture and the cycles of nature in ancient Greek society. Overall, Demeter was a complex and revered deity in Greek mythology, embodying the ideals of motherhood, fertility, and the natural world. Her stories and worship were central to the lives of ancient Greeks, who depended on the success of the harvest for their survival. Hades, the god of the underworld and the ruler of the dead, was a powerful and enigmatic deity in Greek mythology. Here is a detailed explanation of Hades, god of the underworld. Hades was primarily known as the god of the underworld, the realm where the souls of the dead resided. He was believed to rule over the dead and determine their fate in the afterlife. Symbols and depictions. Hades was often depicted as a dark and somber figure, wearing a helmet that rendered him invisible. He was sometimes shown with a scepter or a key, symbolizing his control over the underworld. Role in mythology. Hades appears in many mythological stories, often as a figure of death and the afterlife. One of the most famous stories involving Hades is the abduction of Persephone, the daughter of Demeter, which explains the changing of the seasons. Association with wealth. Hades was also associated with wealth, particularly the precious metals and gems that were believed to come from the underworld. He was sometimes called Pluton, meaning the rich one, in reference to his role as the source of wealth in the earth. Cult worship. Hades was not widely worshipped in the same way as other gods, as he was feared rather than revered. However, he was honored in certain cults and religious practices, particularly those associated with death and the afterlife. Guardian of oaths. Hades was also known as the guardian of oaths, as he was believed to punish those who broke their oaths by sending them to the underworld. This aspect of Hades emphasized the importance of keeping one's word in ancient Greek society. Legacy and influence. Hades was a complex and mysterious deity in Greek mythology, representing the inevitable fate of death and the unknown realm of the afterlife. His stories and worship served as a reminder of the impermanence of life and the importance of living a virtuous life. Overall, Hades was a powerful and influential deity in Greek mythology, revered for his role as the ruler of the underworld and the guardian of the dead. His stories and worship were central to the ancient Greeks' understanding of death, the afterlife, and the human condition. Hestia, the goddess of the hearth, home, and family, was a revered and essential deity in Greek mythology. Here is a detailed explanation of Hestia, goddess of the hearth. Hestia was primarily known as the goddess of the hearth, representing the sacred fire that was kept burning in the center of the home. She was believed to preside over the warmth and security of the household. Symbols and depictions. Hestia was often depicted as a gentle and modest figure dressed in a simple robe. She was sometimes shown tending to the hearth or sitting beside it, symbolizing her role as the guardian of the home. Protector of the home. Hestia was also revered as a protector of the home and family, ensuring the well-being and prosperity of the household. She was believed to preside over domestic rituals and ceremonies, such as meals and sacrifices. Role in mythology. Hestia appears in few mythological stories, as she was more of a background deity than a central figure. She is known for her role in giving up her seat among the 12 Olympian gods to Dionysus, thus ensuring peace among the gods. Cult worship. Hestia was worshipped throughout ancient Greece, particularly in the form of household shrines and hearth fires. She was honored in daily rituals and offerings, which were believed to ensure the protection and prosperity of the home. Symbol of stability and security. Hestia was seen as a symbol of stability and security, embodying the ideals of home and family life. Her stories and worship were often associated with the importance of the hearth as the center of the household. Legacy and influence. Hestia was a beloved deity in Greek mythology, revered for her role in maintaining the harmony and well-being of the home. Her stories and worship served as a reminder of the importance of family, community, and the domestic sphere in ancient Greek society. Overall, Hestia was a gentle and essential deity in Greek mythology, embodying the ideals of home, hearth, and family. Her stories and worship were central to the lives of ancient Greeks, who believed in the importance of maintaining a warm and welcoming home.